The massive alien ship appeared over New York without warning. It emerged from the clouds like a silver whale, its hull gleaming in the morning sun. Captain James Walker stood at the window of the Earth Defense Force headquarters, his coffee forgotten in his hand. After 20 years of service, he was about to become humanity's first contact with alien life. "Sir, the alien vessel is broadcasting on all frequencies," his aide reported, breaking the stunned silence in the command center. "They're calling themselves the Galactic Council." Walker straightened his uniform. "Put them through." The main screen flickered to life, revealing a tall, elegant being with silvery skin and large, intelligent eyes. "People of Earth," the alien spoke in perfect English. "I am High Counselor Ran of the Galactic Council. We have been observing your civilization and believe you are ready for first contact." In the next 48 hours, the world changed forever. The Council's diplomatic team arrived with promises of advanced technology and membership in their galactic community. But first, they needed to assess Earth's technological level and military capabilities. Walker led the Council's inspection team through the Earth Defense Force's main armory. High Counselor Ran moved with fluid grace, examining their weapons with an expression that reminded Walker of a museum curator studying cave paintings. "These are your primary weapons." Ran lifted a standard-issue rifle with 2 fingers, as if touching something unclean. "Chemical propellant projectile launchers. We call them guns," Walker explained, keeping his voice neutral. "This particular model can fire 800 rounds per minute with an effective range-off." Laughter interrupted him, not just from Ran, but from the entire Council delegation. Their musical voices echoed off the armory walls, making Walker's face burn. "My dear Captain," Ran said, wiping tears from their large eyes, "we haven't used solid projectile weapons in 10,000 years. The galaxy runs on energy weapons now. Particle beams, plasma cannons, quantum disruptors. These are the tools of modern warfare." Walker watched as they continued through the armory, their amusement growing with each display. The Council members whispered among themselves, occasionally glancing back at him with what could only be described as pity. "Your bullets," one of the junior Council members said, holding up a cartridge. "They don't even have guidance systems. They just go straight." "With proper adjustments for gravity and wind." "Yes," Walker replied. He could feel his jaw tightening, but maintained his diplomatic smile. The Council delegation spent the rest of the day examining Earth's other military assets. They showed the same dismissive attitude toward everything: the tanks, the fighter jets, even their most advanced missiles. To them, it was all primitive technology, barely worth noting in their assessment reports. That evening, in a grand ceremony broadcast worldwide, High Counselor Ran announced the Council's decision. Earth would be admitted to the galactic community. As a protectorate state, they would be given observer status and gradual access to some of the Council's lesser technologies to help them catch up with modern civilization. Walker stood at attention during the ceremony, his expression carefully blank. But inside, something bothered him. Throughout the inspection, he had noticed something odd about the Council members' protective suits. They wore personal shield generators, standard equipment according to them. But the shields seemed to flicker strangely whenever they passed near certain types of metal. Later that night, alone in his office, Walker pulled up the footage from the armory inspection. He watched it again and again, paying close attention to those slight shield fluctuations. Then he made a call to Earth's leading weapons research facility. "Dr. Thompson, this is Captain Walker. I need you to analyze something for me. How do energy shields interact with high-velocity metal projectiles?" He paused, looking at the paused video frame showing the shield's odd behavior. "Yes, I know they think our weapons are primitive. That's exactly what I'm counting on." The Council might be laughing now, but Walker had a feeling they'd learn an important lesson soon enough. Sometimes the old ways were the best ways, and underestimating primitive technology could be a deadly mistake. Mark Thompson wasn't like other Council intelligence officers. While his colleagues spent their time monitoring advanced civilizations, He had developed a fascination with primitive worlds. That's why he was the first to notice something wrong in the deep space signals. He sat in his dimly lit office aboard the Council's space station, staring at the data streams flowing across his screens. The patterns were subtle, but unmistakable. The Drachnid Empire was moving their warships, and Earth lay directly in their path. "Computer, show me the Drachnid fleet movements from the last 30 days, he commanded. The holographic display filled with red dots, all converging toward one point, Earth's solar system. Mark's hands shook as he prepared his report for the Council. The Drachnids were notorious for testing new Council members, but this was different. The fleet size suggested something far more sinister than a simple probe of defenses. 2 hours later, he stood before the Council chamber, trying to keep his voice steady. "Distinguished Council members, the evidence suggests a full-scale Drachnid invasion of Earth within the next 2 weeks. High Counselor Rand barely looked up from their datapad. "And why should this concern us? Earth is a protectorate, nothing more. If the Drachnids wish to test them, it is their right under Council law. But the fleet size," Mark started, "is irrelevant," another Council member cut in. "Their primitive weapons pose no threat to Drachnid shields. Perhaps this will teach them the value of proper energy-based weaponry." Mark left the chamber with his fists clenched. He had one more card to play, one that could cost him his career. That evening, he met Captain Walker in a quiet corner of the station's observation deck. The Earth officer listened silently as Mark explained the situation, his blue eyes growing harder with each word. "How long do we have?" Walker asked when Mark finished. 2 weeks at most. The Council won't help. They think it's just a test, and that Earth needs to learn its place. Walker nodded slowly, looking out at the stars. "Send me everything you have on Drachnid shield technology. Every detail, no matter how small." "That's classified information," Mark hesitated. "If anyone finds out." "They won't," Walker assured him. "And if they do, we'll both probably be too dead to care." Over the next week, Earth's military went into quiet overdrive. Walker coordinated with weapons facilities worldwide, implementing modifications based on Mark's data. The Drachnid shields were incredibly advanced, but like the Council's personal shields, they had been optimized against energy weapons. Nobody had bothered testing them against primitive projectiles for thousands of years. In underground bunkers and secret facilities, human engineers worked around the clock. They modified artillery shells, redesigned bullet compositions, and fine-tuned their railguns. Every projectile weapon in Earth's arsenal was being adapted to exploit what Walker hoped was a critical weakness in alien shield technology. "The ammunition modifications are ready for testing, sir," Dr. Thompson reported, leading Walker through her laboratory. "We've adjusted the composition to maximize the shield disruption effect you observed." Walker picked up one of the new rounds. It looked deceptively simple, but the technology inside was anything but primitive. "How many can we produce in a week?" "With all facilities running at maximum capacity, enough to make the Drachnids regret underestimating us." On the final day before the predicted invasion, Walker stood in Earth's orbital command center, watching the planet below. The Council had withdrawn their diplomatic mission hours ago, claiming a scheduled cultural exchange elsewhere. They hadn't even warned Earth about the coming attack. "All defense platforms report ready, sir," his aide announced. "New ammunition has been distributed to all units." Walker allowed himself a grim smile. The Drachnids expected to find an easy target, defended by primitive weapons their shields could shrug off. Instead, they would face a planet armed with weapons specifically designed to tear through their defenses. "Send to all commands," Walker ordered. "Operation Lead Rain is now in effect. Let's show the galaxy why they shouldn't laugh at human ingenuity." The Drachnid fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the solar system, their massive warships gleaming against the darkness of space, 300 ships strong. They moved with the confidence of predators who had never known defeat. In Earth's orbital command center, Captain Walker watched their approach on the main display. Red dots spread across the screen like a swarm of angry wasps. all heading straight for Earth. They're not even trying to hide their approach, his tactical officer noted. They want us to see them coming. Walker nodded. Of course they do. They want us to be afraid. He keyed the command channel. All stations, maintain radio silence. Let them think we're panicking. The Drachnid fleet split into 3 groups as they passed Mars. Following standard invasion protocols, they expected Earth's primitive defenses to be concentrated around the planet, easy to outflank and destroy. They didn't expect the mines. Simple chunks of metal, really, thousands of them, scattered throughout the approach vectors. No electronics, no energy signatures, just carefully shaped pieces of tungsten and steel, waiting silently in space. The first Drachnid ship hit a cluster of them at high speed. Their energy shields, designed to deflect plasma and laser fire, did nothing to stop the solid projectiles. The kinetic energy tore through their hull like tissue paper. First blood, Walker announced as the explosion lit up his display. Launch operation lead rain. All platforms, weapons-free. Earth's orbital defense platforms came to life. But instead of energy weapons, they unleashed streams of magnetically accelerated metal. Railguns and coilguns, modified with the new ammunition, spat thousands of rounds per minute into space. The Drachnid fleet's formation broke as ships began exploding. Their shields, optimized over thousands of years to stop energy weapons, might as well have been soap bubbles against the storm of metal humanity had unleashed. Sir, Mark burst onto the command deck, his council uniform disheveled. The council observation post is going crazy. They're demanding to know what's happening. Walker didn't take his eyes off the tactical display. Tell them we're defending ourselves with our primitive weapons. I'm sure they'll find it very educational. In space, the battle continued. The Drachnids attempted to return fire, their energy weapons blazing across the void. But Earth's defense platforms were protected by layered armor and point defense guns, another primitive technology the aliens had long abandoned. Enemy fleet is attempting to regroup, Tactical reported. They're falling back to beyond our weapons range. Launch the fighters, Walker ordered. Show them another human surprise. Squadrons of Earth fighters streaked out from hidden bases on the Moon and Mars. They looked like normal jet fighters, modified for space combat. The Drachnids likely expected them to be armed with missiles or simple energy weapons. Instead, each fighter carried a modified rotary cannon, thousands of rounds of specially designed ammunition, ready to tear through alien shields that had never been designed to stop physical projectiles. "This is Gold Leader," the squadron commander's voice crackled over the comm. "Beginning attack run. Let's show these aliens why humans never completely abandon dogfighting." The fighters dove into the scattered Drachnid formation. Their guns roared silently in space, streams of metal punching through shield after shield. Drachnid ships, their defenses useless against this primitive onslaught, began exploding in balls of fire. In the Council observation post, the alien observers watched in stunned silence. These weren't the actions of a primitive species waiting to be conquered. This was a carefully planned defense, using weapons and tactics specifically designed to counter their most advanced technology. "Status report," Walker called out as the fighters continued their attack. "Enemy fleet is in full retreat, sir. They've lost almost 40% of their ships. The rest are making emergency jumps out of the system." Walker allowed himself a small smile. "Send to all commands. Well done. Special thanks to our council friends for making it clear exactly what they thought of our primitive weapons. It made hiding our true capabilities much easier." He turned to Mark. "Make sure the council gets the full battle recording. I think it's time they learned an important lesson about underestimating primitive species." The first battle was over. But Walker knew this was just the beginning. The galaxy was about to learn why humanity had kept its obsolete weapons, and why sometimes the old ways were still the best ways. News of Earth's victory spread through the galaxy faster than light. In distant star systems, alien species gathered around information terminals, watching footage of humanity's primitive weapons tearing through the most advanced shields in known space. The Council's observation station had become the center of frantic activity. Military experts from a dozen species argued over the battle recordings, trying to understand how their carefully designed defenses had failed so completely. "Play it again," High Counselor Rand demanded, watching the screen with narrowed eyes. "Focus on the moment their shields failed." The hologram showed a Drachnid warship, its energy shields glowing brilliantly against the darkness of space. Then came the stream of human bullets, looking absurdly simple compared to the advanced technology they faced. But when they hit the shield, something unexpected happened. There, Mark pointed at the display. The shields aren't failing. They're not even engaging properly. They're calibrated to stop energy weapons, but these projectiles have no energy signature to trigger them. Walker stood at the back of the room, watching the aliens study their defeat. He had been invited to explain Earth's tactics, though he suspected the real reason was so the Council could keep an eye on him. "Your weapons," a Council military advisor turned to him. "They're not just simple projectiles, are they?" Walker picked up one of the special rounds they had used. "The basic principle is simple, a piece of metal moving very fast. But we added some refinements. Different materials, specialized shapes, carefully calculated velocities. We had plenty of time to perfect them while everyone else forgot about physical ammunition." More battle footage played across the screens, Earth fighters executing maneuvers that energy weapon platforms couldn't track. Railgun shots penetrating shields that could stop a plasma blast. Simple metal mines destroying ships worth more than entire human cities. "The Drachnids are regrouping," Mark reported, checking his datapad. "They're calling in reinforcements from 3 sectors. They're not used to losing." Walker nodded. He had expected this. "Show them what we found in the debris field." New images appeared on the main screen. Pieces of Drachnid ships recovered after the battle. Their armor, designed to resist energy weapons, had been punctured clean through by human ammunition. "We've already adapted our designs," Walker explained. "The next generation of rounds will do even more damage. While you were all advancing your energy weapons, we kept improving our primitive technology." A murmur ran through the assembled aliens. They had all read the reports, seen the footage. Humanity hadn't just gotten lucky. They had systematically exploited a weakness that had developed over thousands of years of technological advancement. "The Drachnid reinforcements will arrive in 3 days," Mark announced. "Twice as many ships as the first wave." High Counselor Rand stood slowly, their silver skin reflecting the starlight from the station's windows. "And what will Earth do against such numbers?" Walker smiled. It wasn't a pleasant expression. "We've been building weapons for our entire history. Energy weapons are elegant and advanced, but sometimes you just need to throw a rock really, really hard." He brought up new tactical displays, showing Earth's defensive preparations. More fighters, more railguns, and something new: massive coilgun platforms being towed into position around the moon. "Those platforms," a Council engineer gasped. "The power readings." "Magnetic acceleration," Walker explained, "launching metal projectiles at speeds that would make your energy weapons blush. We call them our planet crackers. Would anyone like a demonstration when the Drachnids arrive?" The room fell silent. They were finally beginning to understand. Humanity hadn't survived countless wars and conflicts by being primitive. They had survived by being innovative, by never discarding a useful weapon just because something more advanced came along. "Perhaps," High Counselor Rand said carefully, "the Council should reconsider Earth's status, and perhaps we should discuss sharing some of your weapon designs." Walker's smile grew wider. The galaxy was about to learn that humans had never stopped improving their primitive weapons. They had just gotten very good at making others underestimate them. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council hadn't seen an emergency session like this in over 500 years. Representatives from every major species filled the massive room, their voices echoing off the crystal walls as they argued about humanity's surprising victory. High Counselor Rand stood at the central podium, trying to maintain order. The latest battle recordings played on the huge screens behind them, showing Earth's massive coil gun platforms in action. The weapons had lived up to their Planet Cracker nickname, turning Drachnid warships into clouds of spinning debris. Order. Rand's voice boomed through the chamber. We must address the reality of our situation. Our understanding of warfare may be outdated. The words seemed to physically pain them. Behind Rand, the screen showed a new image, a simple bullet next to an energy weapon core. The bullet cost less than a meal. The energy core could have bought a small ship. Our military doctrine has failed us, a council general admitted. He was old, his scales faded with age. We forgot the simple truth. A rock thrown hard enough can kill just as surely as a laser. Walker stood to the side with Mark, watching the council come to terms with their mistake. Earth's defensive platforms were still in position, ready to protect the planet. But now they had a new job, teaching council military forces how to integrate physical weapons into their arsenal. Another Drachnid fleet was detected entering the Proxima system, Mark whispered, checking his datapad. They turned around as soon as they saw the new defense platforms. Walker nodded. The news wasn't surprising. Earth's weapons had gone from being the joke to being the most feared defense system in the sector. Fear was a powerful teacher. The council recognizes Representative Walker, Rand announced. Please explain to us how humanity maintains such effective weapons while advancing in other areas of technology. Walker stepped to the podium. The chamber fell silent, hundreds of alien eyes fixed on him. Humanity has a saying. If it's not broken, don't fix it. Energy weapons are impressive, but physical ammunition still has its uses. We never saw a reason to completely abandon it. He brought up new diagrams on the screens. These are some of our latest designs. Hybrid weapons combining your energy technology with our projectile expertise. Imagine a railgun shooting plasma-wrapped tungsten rounds, or fighters carrying both energy cannons and traditional guns. The chamber erupted in excited discussion. Species that had long looked down on primitive weapons were suddenly seeing new possibilities. Even the most advanced energy shield couldn't stop a properly designed bullet if it never recognized it as a threat. We propose a full military alliance with Earth, High Counselor Rand declared. Equal sharing of technology and defensive responsibilities. All in favor. The vote was unanimous. In less than a week, humanity had gone from being seen as primitive newcomers to valuable allies. Their outdated weapons had proven that sometimes the old ways were still effective. There's more, Walker added. Once the vote was recorded, we've been developing these weapons for centuries. What you've seen so far, that's just the beginning. He showed them designs for orbital defense systems that combined human and alien technology. Massive guns that could accelerate projectiles to near-light speed. Fighters armed with both energy beams and special ammunition. The Drachnids thought we would be easy prey, Walker concluded. They thought our weapons were primitive and weak. Now they're running from those same weapons, and the rest of the galaxy wants to learn our primitive techniques. High Counselor Rand nodded slowly. Perhaps it is we who were primitive, thinking that newer always meant better. Earth has taught us a valuable lesson, one that will change warfare in this galaxy forever. As the council session continued, Walker smiled to himself. Humanity had never needed the most advanced technology. They just needed to be clever about using what they had. And now, with access to the council's technology as well, they would become even more formidable. The galaxy would never laugh at human weapons again. The combined fleet hung in space like a metal storm cloud. Council ships, sleek and elegant, floated alongside Earth's more practical vessels. What made them truly special were the weapons they now carried. A mix of energy cannons and human-designed projectile systems. Captain Walker stood on the bridge of the flagship Thunderchild, watching as crews loaded the last of the special ammunition into the fleet's new weapons. The Drachnids had started this war by underestimating human weapons. Now they would learn the full cost of that mistake. All ships report ready, his tactical officer announced. The Council vessels have successfully integrated our targeting systems. Walker nodded. It had taken weeks to modify Council ships to carry human weapons, but the results were worth it. Each vessel now carried both energy weapons and projectile launchers, making them twice as dangerous. Fleet command to all vessels. Walker's voice carried across the combined fleet. Operation Payback begins now. Jump when ready. Space twisted as hundreds of ships made the jump to faster-than-light travel. Their target, the main Drachnid fleet base in the Orion sector. Intelligence suggested the Drachnids had gathered their remaining forces there, trying to figure out how to counter Earth's weapons. They were about to run out of time. The fleet emerged from hyperspace right on target. The Drachnid base sprawled across space before them, dozens of space stations and hundreds of ships. Their sensors must have been screaming warnings, but it was already too late. All ships, weapons free, Walker commanded. Show them what humanity and the Council can do together. The battle that followed would be studied in military academies for centuries. Council ships opened up with their energy weapons, forcing Drachnid vessels to raise their shields. Then, while those shields were busy stopping energy attacks, streams of human-designed projectiles tore through them like paper. Enemy fleet is in disarray, Mark reported from his tactical station. They never expected us to attack them here. Their shields are optimized for energy weapons only. They haven't had time to adapt. Walker watched as a Drachnid battleship exploded under the combined fire of energy beams and railgun rounds. Launch the fighters. Let's show them another human tradition, pressing the advantage. Squadrons of fighters poured from the fleet's carriers. Some were Council designs, others were human, but all carried both energy and projectile weapons. They dove into the chaos of battle, hunting down Drachnid ships trying to escape. Their command station is attempting to surrender, Mark announced, surprise clear in his voice. They're broadcasting on all frequencies. Walker allowed himself a small smile. The Drachnids had started this conflict thinking they would easily defeat Earth's primitive weapons. Instead, those same weapons had now brought the fight to their doorstep. Tell them we accept their surrender, Walker ordered. And make sure they understand, this is just the beginning. We'll be taking this fight to every Drachnid base that participated in the attack on Earth. The battle wound down as Drachnid ships powered down their weapons. Council crews worked alongside humans, securing captured vessels and rescuing surrendered crews. It was a level of cooperation that would have seemed impossible just weeks ago. Message from High Counselor ran, Mark reported. They're calling this a historic victory for cooperation between species. They want you to make a speech. Walker looked out at the aftermath of battle. Human ingenuity combined with Council technology had created something new, a fighting force that took the best from both civilizations. The Drachnids had thought humanity's weapons were primitive, but those primitive weapons had just helped win one of the biggest victories in Council history. Tell them I'll speak, he said. But first, let's make sure everyone in the galaxy sees these battle recordings. I want every species out there to understand. Humanity didn't keep our primitive weapons because we couldn't advance. We kept them because sometimes the old ways are still the best ways. The victory would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. And it had all started because the Council had laughed at human guns. 1 year after the Drachnid surrender, the Galactic Council chamber looked very different. Where once aliens had laughed at primitive human weapons, now they eagerly studied Earth's military techniques. Captain Walker, recently promoted to Admiral, stood at the center of it all. The Joint Weapons Development Program has exceeded all expectations, Walker reported to the assembled Council. The combination of human projectile expertise and Council energy technology has created defensive systems unlike anything in known space. The main display showed the newest ships being built in Earth's orbital shipyards. They were beautiful things, blending the elegant lines of Council design with the practical efficiency of human engineering. Each carried both energy weapons and advanced projectile systems. Most importantly, Walker continued, we've proven that no civilization has a monopoly on good ideas. Sometimes the oldest solutions are still the best ones. High Counselor Rand nodded in agreement. They wore a new symbol on their robes, a simple bullet crossed with an energy beam, the mark of the new Joint Defense Force. Earth has taught us much, Rand admitted to the chamber. We became so focused on advancing our technology that we forgot the simple solutions, a lesson we will not forget again. The evidence of that lesson could be seen throughout Council space. Ships now carried both energy and projectile weapons. Defense platforms combined shield technology with physical armor. Even the Drachnids, humbled by their defeat, had begun adapting their military doctrine. "Show them the new defense system," Walker said to Mark, who had become Earth's permanent representative to the Council. The display changed to show a massive space station under construction near Jupiter. It bristled with weapons both old and new, railguns beside plasma cannons, missile tubes next to quantum disruptors. "We call it the Guardian Ring," Mark explained, "a perfect blend of human and Council technology. Any hostile force would face both energy and kinetic weapons. No known shield system can stop both." The Council chamber erupted in approving murmurs. A year ago, they had seen Earth as a primitive backwater. Now they looked to humanity for military innovation and tactical expertise. "There's more," Walker added. "We've been working with Council engineers on an entirely new type of weapon, something that combines the best of both our technologies." The display showed a new type of ammunition, bullets that carried tiny energy cores. They could punch through shields with kinetic force, then release a devastating energy burst inside the target. "We call it hybrid ammunition," Walker explained. "Just the first of many innovations to come from our cooperation." In the year since the war, everything had changed. Earth had gone from being a protectorate to a full Council member. Human military advisors were sought throughout the galaxy. The species that had once laughed at primitive guns now eagerly studied every aspect of human warfare. "The galaxy enters a new era," High Counselor Rand declared. "One where we recognize that progress doesn't always mean abandoning the old ways. Sometimes it means finding new ways to use them." Walker looked around the chamber, remembering how different things had been just a year ago. The Council had laughed at human weapons, thinking them primitive and weak. That laughter had stopped when those same weapons proved more than a match for the most advanced technology in space. "We have a saying on Earth," Walker told the assembled Council. "Pride goes before a fall." The Drachnids thought our weapons were primitive. The Council thought we were behind the times. Instead, we showed the galaxy that sometimes the simplest solutions are the best ones. As the session ended, Walker stood at the chamber's great window, watching ships move through space. Council vessels now flew alongside Earth ships, their crews working together, learning from each other. A new age had begun, all because some aliens had laughed at human guns. They weren't laughing anymore. The end.